So today's episode, we're going to discuss Fallout, the television show, as well as the video games series, and we're going to also talk about X-Men '97. I think we're up to 6 episodes now of straight heat off of Disney Plus, and then we'll top it off with Shogun on Hulu, well, Hulu/FX. What did you guys' thoughts on Fallout? We're going to start with Kay, since Kay is not an avid gamer for Fallout, nor did she watch the entire series of Fallout. We're going to get her opinion on what little she watched. Look at her face.
First off, I don't appreciate this. Yes, I only watched 3 episodes. I saw 3, 4, and 5. Yes, I didn't start from the beginning. I don't care. I don't need to know. I got to see the giant whatever that little pink creature was in the water. Exoto.
It was like someone's grandfather or something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever. That thing. I thought from what I saw, I enjoyed it. It was very interesting. Do I regret not starting the thing and finishing it? Not really. Because, the world is all spoilers. That again, I don't play the game. I've never played the game, so I don't really know how well it relates to the game, except for from what I've seen people say online. But I enjoyed it, and maybe in a few months I will watch it from beginning to end.
Okay.
Maybe.
The maybe.
But since you two know more about it, you schmucks, let's hear your opinions, Evil.
Kareem, you give us your thoughts on the series?
I don't want to set the world on fire.
Yes, you do.
So that gives an idea of how much I was looking forward to this show. I even looked up the playlist again. I tried to find the playlist on Apple Music, on YouTube, everything, because that's one of the things that stuck in my head in playing the Fallout game. When you're traveling a large nuclear wasteland, sometimes your only companion is that radio and those songs. And so that to me is the quintessential understanding of the environment and the world building that takes place. Is whatever you're going through, there's always something that's going to connect you to where you're coming from and where you're trying to go in the game series, at least in my mind. Right. One of the best memories I have about the Fallout games, besides the radio, is how I decided to get Fallout 4 for the computer and not the console, and how my Steam was hacked. Someone took over the game. They changed the language and everything else, and then they erased my save game. So that's one of the best memories I have about Fallout 4. Because I was so far in the game, I just couldn't quit. I had to go back. I tried to play it in a different language. I redid some missions, but I enjoyed it overall. But saying that, I'm trying to say that Fallout 3 is probably my best memory of the Fallout video game series. There were a lot of Easter eggs in the game, in the TV show, that I enjoyed. I did enjoy how they did have a lot of the songs from the original series. Obviously, the armor, to me, was a faithful reconstruction of it. The first episode captured the fish out of water feeling. From being in the vault, all of a sudden you're thrown into the nuclear wasteland. It captured some of the quirky humor of how from the 1940s and 50s to now suddenly everything is cut off from growth or communication, where you have a nuclear wasteland, but then somebody giving a thumbs up or a smile about your perks. So I think they did a great job in capturing that feel in the first episode. So anyone who played the game series, there were a lot of Easter eggs in that first episode. But I think the show is not only faithful in recreating the environment and giving us new characters to appreciate, but that even if you did not play the games, after 2 or 3 episodes, you could get into the story just for what it was. You didn't have to know what a ghoul was by the time they showed the ghoul for the first time to appreciate him as a unique character. Before realizing, there are a lot of other ghouls in this world. How are they created? Because the way the story showed it was, through the eyes of Lucy, through her experiences, to her coming from this vault where everything seemed to be perfect and pure, and this is how they were indoctrinated to believe that they were going to save the world, only to realize that everything is not black and white when you're on the surface. And also that they've been down there for a very long time. So I do like the way they captured the story and how there were a lot of twists and turns. There were a lot of characters who were growing, such as Maximus, who I thought he was a great character as well. And to me, as a gamer, it felt like all the different choices you can make in the game, where your experience can be different from mine, they captured that in some of the different characters they had in the story. So you had the quest to go to the radio tower. But he wasn't the main character, but they still threw that in. Maximus had his own quest if you join the Brotherhood. Lucy has her own quest. So I did appreciate that, but it did not stand out to the point where if you didn't play the games, you couldn't appreciate it. As you know, I do not like to give away any spoilers. Because I think certain things should be appreciated for the way that it was. But towards the end of the series, I would say maybe episodes 6, 7, and 8, I really became very engrossed in the story, but the mystery behind what occurred. I do like the dual storylines about the nuclear apocalypse and how it seemed to be not just one incident, but possibly more than that, as well as the that's what happens when you have a toddler in the house. You get distracted by all types of things.
It's okay.
Camera. Yeah, it's okay. But also how, again, it was consistent with everything not being black and white. So Lucy's quest to retrieve her father, at a certain point, you realize it wasn't as simple as it seemed to be. Who the good guys were versus who the bad guys were. It was not as simple as it seemed to be. And you actually cared about the characters and what they were going through and their struggles, where it seemed as if it's hopeless. I said, really turning the world around. But then you realize that in each other, the characters may be able to find that hope for future seasons. And again, I'm being very vague, but I appreciated all the characters. I liked the Ghoul for who he was. I think the actress who played Lucy, she did an incredible job capturing that, fish out of water feel from the beginning. From the first okie dokie that she gave to the last okie dokie that she gave in the season, where it's like, wow, she really went through a lot. To Maximus, he started off where, he didn't even know the difference between a pimple and what he was actually describing about what was occurring, to someone who at the end, he realizes that the Brotherhood may not be everything that they've been cracked up to, that they've been promoting themselves as being. So again, no character in my mind started off the season in the same place that they ended, which is great character growth. The story has so many mysteries behind it where you didn't get lost in it, you just felt engrossed in it. And the world building, I think, left a lot where there's more to explore for season 2. But since you played the games too, Hanif, what are your thoughts on it?
I enjoyed it. I'm not going to start off by singing any of the songs, but like you say, the songs were a good memory for me as far as playing some of the Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4. Those are fun, and just hearing the old timey songs. Some of them are actually real songs, not just made for the video game. That I enjoyed listening to them. And I think what I liked about the Fallout series was that it showed us a live action of what life was like before Vault. How is society? Because this wasn't, even though everything looks old timey, this still takes place in our future. I think the bombs didn't go off until like 2070. But this is still, several years into our future, where even though it looks like it's 50s, maybe late 40s as far as like the interior design and aesthetics of some of the stuff. But Fallout, there's a lot of Easter eggs. I agree with you, Kareem. Character development, where people started isn't where they ended. But I liked the fact that they start us off with Lucy. And so for people like Kay, who have never played the games or not familiar with the world, they can they can sit along with her and go for a ride as to embrace themselves in what this Fallout world is. You got the radiated ghouls. You got these large 5 feet long cockroaches and all kind of bugs and things like that.
That I didn't need. I didn't need that. I didn't need the giant roaches. I was good with the other creatures.
These are usually the roaches and the rats the size of cars are usually the things that you first see when you first come out the vault. That you got to, you get, depending upon how you build your character. It's be real quick. So either you got to outrun them or outfight those kind of creatures. But it does make you want to see what season 2 is going to be. I'm guessing it's going to be Fallout New Vegas because they showed us Vegas. They showed us a Deathclaw skull on the floor. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. Hopefully showing us more of the different organizations, different cults, if you will, inside the Fallout world. I'm looking forward to that. I think between this and Last of Us, this past year and a half has been great in regards to video games to live action adaptations.
For the most part, yes. And I would say yes. I keep thinking of Halo. I'm getting back to
I didn't mention Halo for a reason, sir, but since you want to go this, I thought I said Last of Us and Fallout. I didn't say. Now, I think Halo has its moments. It's not as good as the last two I mentioned, but Halo has its moments. Obviously, when they're doing the action, the fights between the Covenant and the Space Marines and Master Chief. But once it gets into the plot of this lady, and she can foresee this, and John's got a special ability. That's when you lose me. Like, okay, you're taking the Halo world and you're kind of twisting it. Where it's like, I don't need you to say the exact lines from the video games, the comics, or the books, but keep some of the same core material there so it makes sense. That's not like, just those that's nitpicking on Halo, which we've done before. I'm not even going to digress into that. We're done with Halo. It'll come out probably next year. I'll watch it again, but until then,
wait. Didn't the second season come out already?
Season's over. Yeah, season's over.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean,
I didn't
maybe
finish.
next year they'll have another one, or the year after.
I didn't even start it, so I saw first season.
This you can probably skip several of the episodes. I think episode 4 and then the last 2 is probably the ones you can watch. Everything else is like filler.
How many episodes were in season 2 for Halo? About.
Oh, it was 8.
Was it 8?
I think it was 8.
It's okay. You can skip all 8 episodes if that's, and you won't miss anything.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. If you didn't see much of the first season, you can skip the second season.
But that's the thing. I watched the whole first season of Halo.
I did too.
Okay. Well, what they did with Halo this time
I need to start Fallout.
I guess I'm not sure if the actor or the studio decided, no, we need to see more FaceTime of Master Chief. So there's a lot more of him outside of his suit. They didn't do the Mandalorian where it's just his voice you're hearing. It's more of him outside of his suit, trying to get himself acclimated with society, all this kind of stuff. But I was appreciative that Bokeem Woodbine gets more screen time, so I'm in favor of that.
We'll see. There we go. Positives.
His wife in the show looks like Wendy Williams, so that was kind of freaky. Like she's got these wide eyes and really thin nose, and she's like that, and it's kind of weird. But I digress. We go from Space Marines and aliens to let's go to X-Men '97 on Disney Plus.
This is still Space Marines and aliens, but
pretty much.
Yeah, right. The last episode of X-Men '97 dealt with some space warfare. But how are you guys enjoying that series? I mean, is it any thumbs down for any parts of X-Men '97 so far?
Okay.
Kay, you biting your tongue. Go ahead, let it out, sister. Go ahead.
Okay. We know that I am an X-Men fan since childhood. We know that I love Chris Claremont. We know I love his storylines. I am not going to lie. There have been moments throughout the show that I have been like, is it over yet? Now, that being said, I'm going from episode 1 to episode 6. There have been moments where I'm like, I don't really.
Mm-hmm.
But was also, I think there's something emotionally wrong with me because on episode 5, when everybody was so saddened by what happened at Genosha, I was like, oh well. And I realized I'm broken.
I feel like I'm broken.
I'm emotionally dead inside, and I get it. Because my favorite part of that episode was when
when they space dancing.
No, when Caleb, I must say Caleb, when Cable says "mom," and I was like, "Oh, you failed again," and I realized I am a horrible person. But then again, at the same time, I'm not going to talk about the beauty of episode 6, but in episode 5, the fact that you had Sebastian Shaw and Emma Frost on your council, you deserve everything that happens to you. Anything that happens to you. Like, the destruction that occurred, it was horrible, but I'm like, so the people that y'all choose to run your country as the Hellfire Club, you deserve what was coming for you.
Well, they wasn't doing nothing wrong at the moment when they got toasted.
Okay, first off, we know Sebastian Shaw got supposedly killed, but we ain't see what happened to Emma Frost. So how do we know? We don't know. But you choose those people to be on your board. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how, whatever. But but then everything was redeemed with Storm, so I was like, yay, again. I'm like, we got back to Storm.
Storm
like,
came in with her Texas Hold'em.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was like, yes. Also, but I do like the fact that the voice actor for Cable was the voice actor for Gambit in the beginning, like in the old cartoon. And for episode 4, the voice actress for older Jubilee was originally Jubilee. So I thought that was really cool. The dude from Walking Dead being Professor Xavier, I'm like, okay, is it different?
With the guy who does all the impersonations?
No, Ross Marquand. It's okay.
Okay.
He was at one of the Walker
Stores.
Yeah. So, but the whole Storm getting her powers back and saying "F all of this," like I'm beating my depression, was beautiful. It was amazing. And Storm going back to that beautiful outfit, which is one of my favorite outfits for her. Yeah. Because to me, that's when she was still, and I've said this before online, but I feel like Charles Xavier kind of like collects mutants and cripples them. Like, how dare you tell her she's not a goddess? Like, really, dude? She's not yes, she is. She's a goddess. F you. So like, when people join Xavier, like, so the fact that she was back to that fullness of herself, I was just like, I'm so happy. But yeah, but of course we can also discuss the whole.
I mean, I feel like we can discuss spoilers. I mean, is it spoilers? I mean, several things have happened over a week now.
Yeah.
I mean, like she said, stuff that happened in Genosha. I wasn't prepared for Gambit's demise, but again, I haven't read as much.
Beautiful.
No, it was awesome. But then it made me think, why couldn't he do that without having to get himself impaled? Like, he couldn't have touched
because he needed to physically touch it.
Yeah.
Like, he can't. He has to why? Yeah, because he could have just went and grabbed the foot and then been able to do.
That's what I'm saying. Right? Like, I guess that's his last. He's still going to attack.
But he wouldn't have been able to get close to it. That was part of the issue. He couldn't physically get close to it.
Okay.
At that
I was
time.
like, he could have just slapped it on his leg the whole time. Everyone's fighting for their life. He could have just went in and gotcha. Tag you it.
So, I don't think you're a horrible person, and here's why. I agree with you. So every year I see Chris Claremont, and I'm like, I'm gonna get him to sign something, and then I'm embarrassed because the comic books that I have of him, they're so decimated that I would not want to present that to him. But I always look at it as, I love those stories so much. I read those comics until they started falling apart. But I'm always like, should I not? And then I decide not to.
No.
That in a long line.
Yeah, that too. When I was watching episode 5, I was like, people are gassed in this episode. What's going to happen? I mean, I get it. And I know that there was some drama in the X-Men growing up that, probably if I look back at it now, I'm like, yeah, that's a little bit too much, soap opera drama for me. But at one point I was like, okay, everybody has the same exact love triangle. And this is what they are spending the majority of the episode on. It's the same back and forth to the point where I didn't feel emotionally attached to anything that was happening. It was like, okay, here we go. They're on Genosha, they're partying. I know what's going to happen on Genosha because that's one of the, the storylines. So I already knew that was happening. It was going to be a build-up. But I honestly did not care until like maybe the last 5 to 10 minutes of the episode in terms of what was happening. Mm-hmm. And when the Sentinel showed up, I was like, finally, here we go. So I do feel that I'm enjoying this series, but it was dragging in terms of the soap opera aspects of it, where it's like, okay, that's just, I'm not here for all of that. I get it, but they kept beating the dead horse at that point. The ending, to me, I did feel it. When Gambit died, I was hurt, not because it was just Gambit, because again, people can come back to life, but what Rogue was saying, it was like, oh, come on, you're gonna really do this? Like, I was distraught at that point. So the ending of episode 5 was incredible to me. Episode 6, I loved everything about it. Almost to the point where I was like, maybe I should forgive Fox for what they did to Storm. Almost, but then I was like, nah, they still ruined her character. But this was so good where it's like, now this is Storm, not her fighting the hair weave to get across the street. I mean, that was the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen of any character. It's like Wolverine dying from a knife wound.
Or Darvin.
You would be like, wait, Wolverine just died from getting stabbed with a knife? They had Storm fighting like the most ridiculous characters. So this episode 6, I felt like, now this is Storm. Even Charles Xavier, like I loved his part of the storyline. And I'm enjoying this series overall. When it stays focused on the main stories, even though it's different from what we know in the comic books, I'm still really enjoying it. And I think it's starting to hit its stride now. And then episode 5, all of episode 6, I can't wait to watch episode 7 now.
Yeah, I think I was actually surprised by what happened with Genosha, but I think for me, I agree with you in regards to the elongated display of the love triangle. Usually it's Scott, Wolverine, Jean. Now it's Jean part 2, or Madeline and Scott. Who you kissing in your mind, Scott? Meanwhile, she just finished kissing Logan. Like, really? You just finished kissing Logan, and then you're not just thinking about the lady who had his kid. Like, what are you doing, lady? Talk about playing mind games. This poor man is out there fighting for his life. But I think with me, this episode seemed to go by so fast. So much happens that before you know it, those 25, those 30 minutes just goes by so quickly. And I think for a lot of people who are not heavily invested in X-Men before the series, I could see some not being a fan of it because it doesn't have Wolverine as a forefront character. He's like an afterthought. Him and Beast are like afterthoughts. Like, it's really the Scott Summers and Jean, which to me is fine. Because I figure once you unleash that animal out the cage, that's he's short on talking, more in action. So to move the plot along, let's focus on people who know how to use their words. But I really enjoyed the last episode. Deathbird calling the Milky Way a ghetto. That took me out. I was like, wait, I had to pause. Like, wait, did you just call it ghetto? Like the whole galaxy, not just Earth, but
you gotta love Deathbird, the way that
he is. But I need Ronan to step up because he keeps getting beat in everything.
Yeah,
Ronan definitely gets his ass handed to him pretty quick.
But at least now we know we're gonna see them back again, because again, Cable said, "I failed again." I'm like, get it? Keep missing. You keep missing that window, sir. But at least Madeline got to realize her baby boy is alive. He's a grown man, but he's alive.
That is true.
Oh man,
yeah.
So are they gonna save pretty much all the main characters through Cable? or you think everyone who died is done?
I
Main
kind of
characters.
want. Yeah, they're probably gonna come back, but I kind of would. It would be nice if they don't come back until season 2. Like if you kill them and we spend the rest of the season without them, I think that would be
Mhm.
great. Like, and if you decide to do the whole "Where are they?" which showed up in the Jubilee episode at the video game where she's standing in front of the picture where the X-Men are missing and like considered dead again. Like if you go far enough without them being there, I'm okay with that. But we know people come back. Like that's the problem. Like I can't really be invested in their death because I've read the comic books. You're not keeping them dead. There was very few comic book characters that have ever stayed dead. And you're definitely not killing Magneto and keeping him.
Magneto is the only one who I think did not actually die. I think his powers were just masked enough to the point where the Sentinels thought he was dead.
But here's the thing. Remember, he was with Leech. And Leech's power, I don't know how far Leech needs to be, how close he needs to be with you, but Leech's power, it drains the power of a mutant. So technically he could have died because he wanted to save
he was
Leech.
hugging him. I think he was hugging Magneto when it happened. So.
Yeah. So I don't think they're going to stay dead.
Yeah, this season's got 10 episodes. Episode 7 will be out in 3 days. So we technically have 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 4 more episodes remaining. So a lot can still happen.
Right.
And a lot is happening simultaneously. Like when Charles is doing the dangerous minds thing with everyone and schooling them. At that exact moment is when the traumatic events are happening in Genosha. So I was thinking it was afterwards because obviously it comes a week after the last episode. But these things are all happening simultaneously. Yeah.
Yeah. But I was trying to figure out, like, why did Deathbird eat the apple? Because you notice that when Charles throws it at her,
because it's all in her mind. So it's like,
yeah. But like, because when
Charles
is talking and she's got the apple, and you see bite marks in it, and I'm just like, why would you eat it? I'm not eating nothing this man throws at me. I'm throwing it right back in his face.
Well, is it supposed to be like she's supposed to be like Eve or something? Is that some subliminal? Like she's eating the forbidden fruit or something like
Maybe.
that?
Yeah.
Forbidden fruit is knowledge, sister. Open up your third eye. Read.
That's why the Milky Way is the ghetto now,
That's what I'm talking about, man.
Yeah.
Those turns out here destroying our universe. We gotta stop them.
Oh man.
Can't let them come across our borders.
We don't want them.
But that was kind of wild though. They said you can stay, you just gotta forget everything you ever remember about your home.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big sacrifice. That's
right. Like he would forget who he was. Like, how you forget me?
Yeah, that
was never
to me
possible.
Your historical, your memories make you who you are. So imagine a relationship, whether it's in the comic books or in real life, someone tells you I'll be with you, but you just gotta forget everything that forget your past, forget your family, forget your friends. You're starting fresh with me. You're no longer who you were that you were probably attracted to in the first place.
Yeah. He should have made them forget that he did not forget. He has the ability to do that. He could say, hey, look, I forgot. This is the memory I'm going to give you to believe that I forgot. And he could just go on from there.
Yeah, but his problem is he's going to keep asking to go back and see his children.
That's true.
So if he was, I think he was fine if he stays there. But his thing was, I just want to go back and see my kids. Nah, we're not. Now we got to roll our windows up and go over that part of the bus.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Sorry, Charles. Oh, I'd say Charles with a W. Charles.
But I do want to see him back on Earth after what happened. I can't wait to see episode 7. I really can't. Even just to I'm not rooting against the humans, but I kind of am at this point. So it's hard to say. But I just can't wait to see what they do next episode.
Well, episode 7 is labeled Bright Eyes. So I'm wondering who is that? It's going to be a Scott Summers storyline.
God, I hope not. Maybe. Well, I know the writer before he got kicked off. Well, the writer had said like some of his best work is actually either 7, 8, and 9, or 8 and 9. Like you got to look forward to those episodes. So
Well, that's some of his
if
best
5
work because
wasn't even
he's been giving us some heat
yeah,
so far.
like right. So if 5 wasn't your penultimate your amazing thing, and you talking about we got to look for more, I'm like, sir, who are you killing? Are you killing all the X-Men? Like, what are you gonna do?
Wipe them all out, start fresh.
Hey, I'm okay with that. As long as Storm gets back to being.
My thoughts on it is that let's just talk about the showrunner. What's this guy's
DeMayo
name?
Or DeMayo?
DeMayo. When they kicked him off the show, or fired him, let him go, released him a week before the show aired, the series began. Now it's like it feels like you got to do one of those hashtag, release the Snyder cut, like hashtag bring Bo back kind of thing. Because if he was integral in getting it to where it is now, I think it'd be foolish for them to not tap into his potential or tap into his knowledge and have him guide the show some more.
Exactly. Like
so I don't know what he did because he can't talk about it, and I guess the studios aren't talking about why they let him go. I don't think there's anything illegal. Like I don't think there's any. Hopefully nothing like some kind of assault or drugs or anything like that because he hasn't been arrested yet. So it might just be maybe breach of contract. Maybe they found his OnlyFans page and Disney doesn't want any employees to have OnlyFans. I don't know, but let the man get a side hustle. Either that or pay him some more so he don't got to do the OnlyFans to keep his lights on in this inflationary market. But bring him on back to X-Men.
Right, but like I like that. Like on the 13th, he posted a Magneto is right poster on his social media. I was like, well, you're not wrong. So he's still involved, like at least on social media. He's still talking about the show, I guess, in supportive ways. But yeah, I'd like to know, like again, if this is the point, why are you kicking people off? Like, Disney be weird.
So I don't know. I don't know what it was that led to him being taken off the show. I don't know if it's something that neither side could just talk about, and so there's no way of him coming back at all. Or if it's something where it was like just a creative, differences. And to me, if it was just something about creative differences, maybe they should reevaluate that because this show this season has been excellent overall. And as a longtime X-Men fan, obviously there are going to be some changes to the source material. You can't recreate something that's been around for literally decades in a 10-episode season. So if it's just about creative differences, I think it's done a great job in creating its own world and staying true to the characters for the most part, in my mind.
Okay, no, I agree. Hopefully they can figure this out. I know they've already been greenlit for a season 3, and season 2 is currently in development. So it's plenty of time to work on things behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Shogun. That's a FX exclusive. Ooh. I mean, before we started recording, I know Kareem was talking about how this series is what Game of Thrones should have been like. Well, actually, Game of Thrones was like as it led into the ending of the first season, but it kind of fell off at the final season of Game of Thrones. But this show, I appreciate, not because there's lack of fantasy elements, but it's the plot. There's so much backstabbery, if you will. And there's always someone else, some double dealing, and I enjoy that in these kind of plot heavy shows, not so much relying on action.
This show, I tell you. Now I know I just said that some of the drama in X-Men '97 was like, hey, come on, let's get to the action. Let's get to the action. So I'm not going back on that. I promise you.
Kinda.
But the difference is this is adult drama in my mind. It's not the easy, splash headline drama of, okay, let's just have a love triangle or love triangles and then get people to talk about it. This is heavy duty trauma that people are unpacking and processing while the world around them is literally with earthquakes, to people are caught up in situations where they did not create, and they're as much of a victim as anyone else, and they're just trying to make the best out of it. And so, to me, like Hanif just said, this is what Game of Thrones should have been in this last season, where everything seemed to be lined up, where all of this is going to take place. Who is going to take the throne? How is that going to happen? In one season, this literally has so much more attention than Game of Thrones maybe in its last 2 seasons. So I feel like one of the characters, I'm watching this, I'm like, nah, Toranaga, he has something up his sleeve. Like, there's no way. Like, I will literally commit seppuku as well because I believe he's up to something. And that's how much tension it is. But on the other hand, I'm thinking maybe he really isn't. Maybe he has seen so much death and destruction. Maybe he really believes that Japan should be held together, because it's not so much about who's in power as much as it is trying to stay united, because he sees the forces that are out there now and may try to want to come in and divide Japan. So I really don't know what he's ultimately trying to do. But then you have someone like Mariko, who he commented that, her father saw everything that she could have been if she was born a man in this world. And he recognizes that. And when you're watching the show, you realize that she is an excellent character. I don't know if she was like that in the book. I don't know if she was like that in the original series. But to me, she's another example of a great character. Just the things that she says, the perspectives that she gives, where she's someone who easily outclasses so many other characters, but because of her circumstances or her fate, she can't escape that. But again, the storyline, the other characters that are utilizing her, or the role that she's taken, where it's really maximizing her potential as a character in the story, where you really feel what's happening to her, what's happening to others. And you may not know everyone's true motivations, but I'm 100% invested in what's happening. There's not as much action as I thought there would have been. I thought I would have been seeing wars taking place, battles.
Right.
I haven't seen that. So again, I'm not backtracking. There is a lot of drama, but in my mind, it's the adult drama where it's like, wow, these are characters really in some situations where it's multi-layered, it's complex, and they're trying to get out of it and deal with it in the best way that they can. This is Game of Thrones without the fantasy elements, but with high stakes, if not higher. And the way that it's moving towards its conclusion is just masterful in my mind. I am addicted to this show. I am upset that I have to wait a couple of more days for the finale. I'm pissed off about it, actually, because I can't wait to see what happens. But this show is everything that I hoped it would be in terms of the entertainment value for me. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Kay's all caught up. So, Kay, what are your thoughts? Don't side eye, Kay. What are your thoughts?
No, okay, because I know you haven't caught to the whole thing. So there's not a lot that I can say without be like, especially that last.
Yeah, I understand what's happening going forward. I'm just like, what are your thoughts on the series so far?
So far, my thoughts on the series are I'm really enjoying it. I will admit, when I was a kid, I did see the original. I do not remember much of the original book, the first version that they did. I do not remember much of it. I remember reading the book. Again, I know how things end because I know even though this is fictional, this is supposed to be Tokugawa Ieyasu, so I know there's going to be the Battle of Sekigahara, and I know what's going to happen in terms of historical context. But in the way that this is playing out, I am enjoying this. I am realizing that my Japanese is not where it used to be. Because I'm like, okay, hold on, but I'm understanding more, and I'm like, this is going to be weird. So when I was a student and I was in school in Japan, every Sunday, me and my host dad would watch a show that was on Japanese TV that talks about the different like the Tokugawa shogunate, and it started with the Ieyasu and then it went on the way through. And this is what this kind of reminds me of. I realize I'm old and nobody's going to understand that reference at all, but that's fine. But I love the attention to detail. I love the imagery. I like the fact that it looks like it could be real.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. Like it looks so grounded in
the studio
reality.
and prop designs and stuff are just really well done. Yeah.
I'm like, yo, I can't wait for you guys to do a tour with all of the art, with like all of the stuff. Cause I'm like, if they decide to do like how they do with some things where they put the artifacts on tour, I'm going to see, because I would love to see, from the way that they move, to the costuming, to the colors, to everything, to the nature of certain characters. I am so enjoying this show, which is rare for me to really enjoy a show. But it's just, although I still don't like and this might just be a me thing, I do not like the British dude.
Oh, pilot or dungeon.
Yeah, like,
what don't you like about it? The accent he gives that
no. Well, one, so here's what's funny. I realize that my hearing must be gone, because sometimes I don't understand the words he's saying. Like, it's a problem. I understand the Japanese better than the English. And again, I ain't studied Japanese in more than a decade, maybe more than two. But like, like, I almost wish that they had the subtitles for when he's speaking English, because he feels like a mumbler. Like.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's my same issue with like the Game of Thrones stuff. Like everything sounded so muffled when he speaks, but it's so clear to me when the Japanese people are speaking, which makes no sense. I love the way that Toranaga is, like, that actor. Yeah. I love that dude. Like that dude, and the fact that he's like a consultant and an executive producer to make sure it's all kind of like factually correct is amazing. Like, we can't really continue on probably beyond how historically this whole thing ends. I mean, they could, but I should do. But like, if they decided, like, whenever there's now a show like this needs to be the gold standard of how they pay attention to the detail, everything, the historical context. Like, I need you to do this for every show going forward. It may be expensive, but that'll be fine. Like,
hey, they're charging us for everything, so where's that money going? I'd rather have it go to set designs, authenticity, as opposed to just, another bonus for another executive. You know how many scenes I watched where the only thing that was occurring was two characters talking, maybe with a couple of parts where I thought at the end of that scene, they need to win some awards. Literally, there's so many actors and actresses who could win awards just from this series alone. Is that going to happen? Probably not, but it should. It should. I mean, it's that riveting to me, where it's like, wow, I really felt everything that they just discussed and the reality of what they were trying to address. I mean, it's just incredible. And there are like I said before, we've seen actors in other shows. The one who plays Mariko, she's in Monarch, and it's a completely different role for her.
It is, and
I like her so much better in this show. Not that she's not good in that show, but what they're giving her, the material that they're giving her to work with in this show is
much better.
Is levels above. And you can really see what's happening. And it's just amazing to me. I really think this show needs to win some awards.
Well, fingers crossed for it. I think we're going back to what Kay said about the set designs and the costumes. I'm just comparing. I know on Facebook, they have a Shogun page, and they sometimes show behind the scenes pictures and sometimes some videos of some of the stuff. And I didn't realize that even like I think the first episode, the exterior shot when Toranaga's talking to the air, they're outside of the house. That's all inside of a studio, like little fake grass, a rock. I'm like, I thought it was legit outside someplace. I'm really even the scenes of, well, obviously no one's gonna fall off a cliff, but even the cliff scenes of in this first episode when Yushubu, I think it's Yushubu, he's like he falls off the cliff. And he went down there to go help the Portuguese guy.
Yeah,
Yashige. That's also in the studio. So I'm comparing that to the behind the scenes stuff I've seen in Game of Thrones, but they do have interior studio stuff, but a lot of their on-site, on location stuff was these old castles, old world stuff that actually physically exists. That's not the case for Shogun. A lot of stuff is just basically on a studio set, on a sound stage. So I give them a lot of credit for recreating that. Even the costumes, the mannerisms. I'm not a historical expert, so it looks legit. Looks like, okay, this is how life was back then. It's rough. I mean, the whole dynamic of the European culture, how they don't bathe or they didn't bathe a lot, and then the Japanese like, oh, you want to bathe? He's like, oh, I bathed last week. Like,
no, sir, please bathe again.
Man,
But even one of the later episodes when he saw one of his boys from the ship before, he was like, "Wow, what's this smell?" Like, he's not even used to it anymore.
And I love how when he did meet up with his crew, he couldn't even after beating dude's butt, he couldn't even bring himself to go see the rest of his crew because he's no longer one of them. Like you're not there, you're not here, you're in between. So I thought that was really like a smart way to play it. And because once you realize you
make a pheasant stew, he killed a chicken, and then he's like, I'm gonna let it just sit here and
oh my god,
dry out. Like you're not even gonna skin it and salt it or nothing, just to kind of just have it sitting here, flies on it.
And that old man had to die because of it. Like,
Cool. So I mean, those kind of things I like that I think for me the biggest detail is also the smallest detail as far as when the Japanese are talking. It's always in Japanese. It's not like Star Trek or something or Star Wars where all these different people speak in different languages, but they all speak the same thing. And when they're interacting with different species, like these people are speaking Japanese to themselves. They also speak Japanese to Anjin, to the European. You may not understand it, but for the viewer, we know that helps us understand there's still a disparity. He's still not getting all the words. He's still not understanding the culture and the language there. I'm really appreciative. It helps me immerse myself into that world.
Like I want to figure out like if the guy did have if they offered the gentleman who's playing Anjin-san to learn Japanese, because like as it goes on, like his Japanese gets it still sounds British, but it does get better. Like the fluidity of it, the ease with he's starting to say it is coming out more and more. So I'm wondering if like if they actually like either he's just practicing more with his lines or if he's actually learning it himself to kind of help with the.
He did say, I saw an interview with him and the actor who played Toranaga. He said that some of the people he said most of the staff on the set are Japanese and was speaking Japanese, so he would try to pick up some words from them. But at the same time, he tried to get a few words from Toranaga, but the actor who played Toranaga, but he didn't want to give him too much because then it wouldn't seem too authentic, as now he's speaking it more fluidly than he should be as a person who's still trying to grasp at what's happening around him. But again, it's a really good show. I'm hoping that they get some kind of accolades, whether it's at least a nomination for their roles.
They need to go like the Emmys are for Emmys are for television
Golden
shows.
Globes,
so it needs to get some Emmys. It needs. I don't know what else can win for Emmys for costuming, but it needs to win costuming. It needs to win sound.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. If you're not going to give it to the actors, which I think you should, but if you're going to give it strictly on look, they do, and it's going to sound rude, but the attention to detail on this show versus historical British dramas is way more. Like it's just like you haven't seen it yet, but even right down to when a guy is doing the tea ceremony, like not like proper tea, like but you'll like when you do see it, you'll understand what I mean. Like right down to the way they walked into the room and the steps that you're supposed to do, the way he held the cup. I'm just like, it now again. I would say,
yeah,
right. It's not Bridgerton. But like the way that they did it, it reminded me of the months that I had to when I was in school, where we had to actually learn from how to enter the room to how to walk on the tatami mats, on how to sit, to do the tea. And I'm like,
wow.
I remember you go through this pain.
Wow, I didn't realize it's a whole process, a whole technique.
And then by the end of the term, we had to, me and this other guy from Korea, we had to do a tea ceremony for our school, the principal of the school, the head of the, the principal, the founder, our classmates.
Wow. No pressure.
Out of pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all.
Actually, that sounds like the episode of Rama where they had a tea ceremony.
And that's what I kept going. When I was learning, I was like, go back to Rama, go back to Rama, go back to Rama. You can do this. But that, and that, to me, that's what it felt. It felt so realistic. And I'm like, oh, I remember having to do that. I remember when we learned how they have to come in through some of the entryways. And I was like, why the entryways are the way they are? And like, again, it's such the attention to details. I'm just like, I want to watch it again. That's why. That's the real reason why I didn't watch. What's it called?
Fallout.
Yeah, I didn't watch Fallout because I was rewatching.
Rewatch Shogun. Okay, that's acceptable. But since you've watched the series, you're up to date on the series, and you read the novel. Do you see this becoming a second season, or do you think it could wrap up in one season?
No, it should not become. Well, okay.
Can they draw it out to be another 8 episodes? You think, or no?
Possibly, but that might diminish it because, like, we should be going up to. Okay, this is ignore the books and stories. This is literally about. This will all come to a head and be determined after the battle of Sekigahara. So, like, if we make it to Sekigahara in this show, we kind of have no continuation. But there were other stories in that book series that take place in Japan after that time period, so we could do that. But like, if we don't make it to that battle, then yes, you could continue for another season. But then it'll seem like you're drawing it out for too long.
Okay, I didn't know there was a series of books. I thought it was just the Shogun book.
No, this guy, Clavel wrote like a series of books, and they're like Shogun, Taipei. Like Shogun happens here. Like one happens in like the 1800s in Japan too. Like he has like a series of books, and like I think the one in like the 1800s in Japan it's dealing with people's descendants from Shogun. Oh, okay. So yes, they could do that. But if they don't finish that battle, you could do another season. But it would feel kind of like we're stretching it for no reason.
Gotcha. I was gonna ask. No, okay. No, I think that was really my biggest concern was that it's not going to wrap it up in one season. It's going to be like, oh, season 2. Like I feel like everything's pushing towards this ultimate moment. I didn't think it was going to be much more after that.
They're really just.
It really is not really much more meat to this story.
Yeah, because then you're going to then you deal with this Tokugawa. In reality, the Tokugawa shogunate era of Japan is what this book leads to.
Does this take place time period wise? Not obviously. This is more. This story is loosely based on reality. The animated series Blue Eyed Samurai. Does that time period happen before this time period, or does it happen afterwards?
Is the Blue Eyed Samurai the 1600s?
I can't remember. I just remember they said that
yes.
the Europeans had gotten booted out of Japan. So I think they were trying to come back.
After that. This would be after that. Well, no, Blue Eyed Samurai would be after this period. So that would be when Japan went back to being isolationist. Blue Eyed Samurai would.
Okay.
So
yeah.
This is.
I wasn't sure if this takes place like Blue Eyed Samurai, then comes Shogun to teach.
So it is the Tokugawa period. Blue Eyed Samurai.
Gotcha.
Wait, it's supposed to be during the Tokugawa period?
Yeah.
So then it's the same period, because Well, no. Okay.
But I don't know
Tokugawa
what part
is
of
the
it.
clan. Hold on. I will look it up. Blue Eye Samurai.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that the two shows are related, just time period wise, historically, which one comes first, or is it down the same path?
I'm trying to look.
Because I remember that in the animated, the Netflix show is like it was supposed to be like 4 main Caucasian people, or travelers, or whatever, that came to the country, peddling their wares, and then they got booted out of the country.
What time period is Blue?
1600s.
Yeah, so the Blue-Eyed Samurai is set in the opening decades of Edo period, which is 1603 to 1867, which is, if it's the opening period, this is during Tokugawa. So this is literally would be the time period we see now and like right after.
Or crossover? Maybe a crossover in the future?
Kind of.
Yes. Maybe Andrew's kid with Miracle.
Yeah.
Because it's really not like the Blue-Eyed Samurai is like, we're not officially in the Tokugawa shogunate era until the end of this book. Like what we're seeing would be the beginning of the Tokugawa era. I mean, the Toranaga era.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So technically it would be right at the end of, like at the beginning, once Ieyasu gets to be in power and becomes the shogun. That's where Blue Eye Samurai starts. And that's from 1603 to 1867. But some of those families are still around. Which is the great thing. These last names are not fake. Like they're using people's real, well, not Toranaga, but like some of these last names are actually last names of families that are still around. So I'm a dork, don't worry.
Nah, I know. I'm trying not to dig because it may give away what's going to happen in the next episode for me. So I'm trying to avoid spoilers.
Yeah, like, and that's my problem. Like, that's my problem. Like, I can't really avoid spoilers in the sense that I know what we're leading. Like, I know historically what this is supposed to be.
Yeah.
How they play.
It's like watching something about the Civil War. Like, I know how it's supposed to turn out. It's not like,
right.
Oh, I wonder if the South is going to win.
Yeah. You never know. They may make something like that nowadays. You never know.
Well, that Civil War movie came out, so we'll see. I think that's pretty much like the super prequel to either Handmaid's Tale or the Purge movies.
Yeah.
We're in danger.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. So I think that wraps up our episode tonight. I think we're gonna come back and do another episode of Helldivers, some video game talk, and we'll take it from there. Any last words?
No.
No. All right. Take care.